Well, I think I did it again. I picked up a piece that said in the ad it was a vintage Broyhill. It's a reseller locally, and so I didn't even look for a maker's mark. I know. And then I got home, I can't find one anywhere. I looked on the back, I looked in the drawers, I need to look underneath it, but I'm not seeing anything. So that's a little disappointing, but it's a fabulous piece. It's already painted, so I'm gonna give it a fabulous paint job. It's in my favorite style, and so I know it'll be a good one anyway. So let's go.
So I believe this was factory painted. It's that yellow. You see it. It's pretty common, especially for some reason in the faux bamboo. I see it a lot in the yellow. Obviously, there's some damage on the top. I haven't really inspected it very closely, so I don't know if there's very many wood components on it. But I'm just going to start by giving it a really good clean. I'll take off all of the hardware, and then we'll see what we have. Obviously, you can see the inside of the drawers. They're pretty gross. There's not even any, there's no dovetails on it. I have a drawer that's broke, so I'll have to glue that up and fix it. So I'm not really sure. We'll just kind of proceed and see what we have. I'm going to start by taking the back off. It was in pretty rough shape, and I needed to be able to access some of the drawer glides because they're broke. So I have 2 of the drawer slides that are broke that I'm going to need to fix. So it's always easier for me if I can access it from the back to replace them. So it's kind of in rough shape anyway, so I'm just going to tear it off, take all the staples out, and then I'll replace it at the end. Then it had these thin boards in between the shelves. Honestly, they're just little dust collectors. So they're very thin and they were falling down. So I decided to just take them out. So the bottom one was in good shape, but the top 2 were not. So I used my multi-tool to cut them, and I'm just going to take them out. Now I'm going to take off all of the hardware. I'm using my 5-in-1 tool just to kind of pry it loose, and then I'll put all of the hardware in a Ziploc bag to keep it all together, and then I'll get it polished up later. Now I'll use some wood glue and I'll get that side reattached. Now I'm going to prep the drawers for paint. I'll give them a very light scuff sand with 180 grit, and then I'm going to go over it with liquid sandpaper. It'll just kind of help me get into any of the crevices that I might have missed in the detailed areas and just kind of etch it up a little bit. The drawer fronts are actually plastic, and so you can see there's a little gap underneath there. So I'm going to use some caulk, and I'm just going to caulk those seams. That way when I go to paint it, it'll be a nice seamless look. Now I'm going to work on the top. I'm using my Festool sander. This is, I believe I started with 80 or 120 grit, and I'm just trying to kind of smooth out some of the rough areas. When I got to this area, I thought, you know, this is a painted surface. I need to double check it for lead. So I have a lead kit that I can use. You just dip it in water, you wipe off the excess, and then you rub it on the surface for about 30 seconds. Then you compare it with the back. If it stays mustard yellow, then you're okay. But if it changes colors at all, then there possibly could be some lead in your paint. So I did it 3 different times. I did 2 on the top and I did 1 on the drawers because I was feeling like it was kind of inconclusive. And you'll see the bright pink one there. That was the one I did on the drawers.
So before I went crazy on the sanding, I decided I better do a lead test on it. And the first couple were a little inconclusive, and then I did one on the drawers and it came back pretty bright pink. So, I've never really run into anything with lead paint, and so I'm not going to proceed. I already had a bulk pickup scheduled for next week, and I'm not going to continue with it just because I think it specifically would be good for a children's room, and this is not appropriate for a children's room since there's lead paint in it. So this project is a dud. I'm $100 out and some of my time, but I'm not going to proceed with it. So sometimes you just have to try a piece you don't know, and this is going to be one that this is all I'm going to do. Oh well. Since that didn't work, I'm going to pivot. I went to storage and picked up a little antique dresser that I'm going to work on instead. So let's go.
So here's a little antique dresser I got. Now I got this from a follower, and she's local, and she had a few pieces that she needed to get rid of that she was moving and didn't want to take them with her, and this little guy was in the garage. So he was really cute. He's been sitting in storage for about a year. Haven't tackled him, and I thought now's the time. So it's got a huge crack in the top and then another small one on the other side. You can tell this is really old. It has a few other little knots that have kind of come out. It's cool. It's got the locks, and there's just one drawer that's not going in. So that's the only problem I can see right now. But it's just got a really failing finish. I think it just needs to be cleaned, sanded. I don't know if I'm going to paint wash it, restain it, but I'll probably just start by getting it cleaned up, assess it, and see what we have. So the first thing I did when I took out all of the drawers is I saw, well, there was something in the back of the drawers, and that's why it wasn't closing. So that's an easy fix. So all I have to do is just clean it out, and then I can actually get the drawer in. Obviously, this had been sitting in the ladies' garage, and then it had been sitting in my storage, so I'm going to give it a really good clean. I'll start with a vacuum, and then I'll go in with a degreaser and clean the whole thing. So this has the really old style of hardware where it has the squares of the nuts, and I had a really hard time getting one of them out. It wouldn't come out. And so these are really old. These are all rusted. And so I just did the best I could. This took me a long time. I mean, like probably over an hour to get all of the hardware off on just 3 drawers. That was it. But it took me a while, but I finally got most of it off. I was hoping when I took the locks off that I could actually see a date or some type of a name, but unfortunately I didn't find anything on any of the locks, so it didn't really help me identify them.
I'm having problems getting one of the screws out. It just spins and spins, even though I have, you know, I can try to get it out. See, you can move it, but it's like this got hammered down or something, because now it's too big to go through the hole. And so I'm not really sure how to get it out. So I'm using my pliers and I'm holding it, but it spins, but the screw will not come through. And I think it's just because, I don't know, it's almost like I said, somehow it's been flattened out and it's too big now to go through the hole. Okay, so I have an update to my problem. On another one, the screw literally broke off. It's like in there. I don't know what to do now. So, I mean, can you cut that off? And can you like put a new screw on there? Do I get a new one? I mean, this is like an antique piece. I don't know what to do. It's all rusted. I think it's because it's all rusty. It's just really fragile. I don't know what to do. Help me.
I'm going to proceed with the top. I'm going to go ahead and sand it and see if I can just knock off as much of that finish as possible. It was pretty, like I said, there wasn't really much finish left. So I'm just sanding at 80 grit, and then I'll get into some of the detailed areas on the side and just sand and see how much I can get off. I did apply a little bit of greenies on the corners where I had some detailed areas, and then I'll use a wire brush, a very soft wire brush, to go in and just try to get off some of that finish.
So I'm cleaning the underside of it and the back, and I found holes all in it. So I don't know if it's like beetles or like, I don't know what it is. So do I proceed? Is this a loss? I don't see any activity, like any sawdust or anything like that. What do you think? I'm going to show you some video. Okay, so here's the underside. I thought it was specks, but I think they're holes. Yeah, they're definitely holes. And then I saw this on the back. Looks like something too. What do you think? Should I just throw this away? So I got a lot of really great responses on my dresser issue. So it looks like the consensus is that it is old, like wormwood damage. And so the people from Europe and from Australia, they see it a lot and they weren't concerned. But we're not used to that here. And so my friend Sabina sent me a picture of a product that she had gotten from the UK that you can use. She's from, Eastern Europe. So she said that's very common over there, but it's not, like I said, it's not here. And so I don't know, with this being a resale, I took the locks off. There's no dates on them, no markings anywhere. There's a big crack in the top. I just don't know that it's worth trying to do any kind of repairs to it. So this is not the video I wanted to make. I don't like to have unsuccessful projects. It is very unusual for me to have two in the same week. I've hardly had any that I've had this series of problems with, but to have two basically flops in a week, it's disappointing. But you know, I am gonna let go the lead paint one. I'm not going to work on that one, but I think I'm gonna hang on to the antique dresser. I think I'm just gonna push it around the garage for a little bit and see if I can come up with a solution. My biggest thing is, what do I say in my ad if I do end up finishing it? Feel like I need to disclose that it has some old, probably wormwood damage. How do I disclose that to where somebody would actually want it? I don't know. Tell me what you think. But I want to leave it on a high note. So in the midst of having 2 flops this week, I actually had a sale. If you remember the Pueblo Brutalist piece, I list my pieces on Facebook Marketplace. I list them on my Facebook business page. And then if it's a higher end collectible piece, I'll put it on Etsy as well. So I had someone reach out to me, and she had seen it on both Etsy and Facebook Marketplace. So she's about 4 hours away from me. I was able to hop on UShip, put a shipment out. Somebody happened to be going through my area the same day, and so they picked it up and delivered it to her the next morning. So it worked out great. So let me give you my profit breakdown on that one.
So here's my profit breakdown. I paid $100. My supplies were about $75. I sold it for $1,200. My gross profit was $1,025. I invested about 10 to 15 hours. So my gross profit was between $68 and $102 an hour. That was a pretty profitable flip for me. Thanks so much for watching.